The voice in the cave. The cave was silent, dark and cold. Only the soft sound of dripping water echoed from the deep tunnels. Derek held his flashlight tightly. The light shook slightly as his hands trembled. He had been lost for hours inside this ancient alien ruin. His team was outside waiting, but the signal was gone. His communicator had stopped working the moment he crossed the old stone gate. The walls around him were carved with strange symbols. They looked like writing, but nothing he had seen before except one thing. In the center of the wall was a line that looked familiar. Very familiar. Derek stepped closer and whispered to himself, "Latin? This looks like Old Latin." He read the words slowly, carefully. Veni, sanctum, voce celorum. His voice echoed, and then something answered. Veni, voce celorum, repeated a voice from deep inside the cave. Derek froze. It was not an echo. It was not human. His flashlight flickered. The cave air felt thicker now. He took a step back, but forced himself to stay calm. He spoke again, louder this time. "Who's there?" Silence. Then soft footsteps echoed from the shadows. A figure appeared, walking slowly out from the darkness. It was a girl. Not human. Her skin was soft blue, almost glowing under the flickering light. Her long silver hair flowed over her shoulders, like liquid light. She wore torn fabric that looked ancient, tribal. But her eyes were full of shock. She stared at Derek like she had seen a ghost. "You," she said slowly, her voice soft and shaking. "You speak the dead language of our ancestors?" Derek blinked. What? You understood me?" She nodded, stepping closer. Her hands were shaking. She placed her hand on her chest and whispered, "I am called Sci-Fi. This language, it has not been spoken in 1,000 years. Only priests and statues remember." "Who are you?" Derek lowered his flashlight. His mind was spinning. "My name is Derek. I'm from Earth. I'm an archaeologist. I study ancient things. I thought this language was lost." Sci-Fi took another step closer, then stopped. "Earth? That name, I have heard it in the songs of the elders. The sky people. The ones who left us." Derek's heart raced. Was this real? Was she real? "You know about Earth?" he asked, his voice full of disbelief. Sci-Fi looked at the carvings around them. "These walls are sacred. They speak of the sky ones who came from beyond the stars. They gave us light, and then disappeared. They spoke your words, your language, but no one remembers what it means anymore, until now." Derek touched the wall again. "These are your people's history?" She nodded. "Yes, but many fear this place. They say it is cursed. Only the voice of the ancients can wake the stone." Suddenly, a loud sound echoed behind them. Boom. The ground shook slightly. Part of the wall began to glow where Derek's fingers touched it. The symbols lit up, slowly, one by one. Sci-Fi gasped and stepped back. "You are the voice, the chosen. No one else could do this. Only someone with the blood of the sky." Derek stepped back too, confused and afraid. "I'm just a man, a researcher. I don't know what's happening." A soft hum filled the air. From the center of the wall, a circle began to spin slowly. The wall opened, not with machines, but with energy. Behind it was a glowing tunnel, deep and endless. Derek looked at Sci-Fi. She was still staring at him like he was something impossible, someone out of legend. "What is down there?" Derek asked. She whispered, "The place of the sleeping light. No one has entered in over 1,000 cycles. The last one who tried never returned." Derek took a deep breath. He felt fear. He felt wonder. But most of all, he felt like the answers he had been searching for his entire life were waiting beyond that glowing tunnel. And the girl, The alien girl who spoke his dead language was the key to it all. Together, without another word, they stepped through the wall, into the unknown. The girl named Sci-Fi Derek followed the glowing tunnel with slow, careful steps. The air grew warmer, heavier. Each breath felt thick, like something ancient lived in the air itself. Sci-Fi walked beside him, her eyes wide, her skin faintly glowing in the soft golden light that poured from the walls. Neither of them spoke. Words felt too small for what surrounded them now. The tunnel curved downward into a large, round chamber. It was filled with pillars of light, rising like solid sunbeams from the floor. Each one pulsed softly, like the beat of a sleeping heart. In the center of the room stood a massive stone table, covered in lines and symbols that danced when Derek came closer. He reached out his hand. "Wait," Sci-Fi whispered, grabbing his arm. He turned to her. "This place," she said softly, "is called the Cradle of Memory. Only the Sky's Chosen can touch the table. If you are not, it will destroy your mind." Derek lowered his hand. "What do you mean by chosen?" Sci-Fi looked down, then slowly sat on the floor, crossing her legs. "Long ago, before our oldest elders were born, the Sky Ones came in ships of fire. They walked among us. They gave us words, tools, knowledge. But then, something happened. The Sky Ones vanished. Our stories say they left one of their own behind. One who could speak to the stars. One who would return when the time was right." Derek sat beside her. "And you think, that's me?" Sci-Fi's violet eyes met his. "I don't know. But when you spoke the ancient words, the walls obeyed you," the light answered. "And the guardians have not awoken." He tilted his head. "Guardians?" She nodded. "They rest in the deep, stone warriors. They protect this place from intruders. Even our high priests fear them." Derek leaned against the glowing floor. "You said your name is Sci-Fi. What are you doing here alone?" A shadow crossed her face. She looked away. "I was not supposed to come here. My people call me broken. I speak in dreams. I hear voices in the silence. They think I am cursed. But the old songs, they call to me. I followed them to this place." Derek was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Maybe we were both called." Suddenly, a hum filled the chamber. The lights grew brighter. The symbols on the stone table floated into the air and began to spin slowly, forming a glowing ring. Sci-Fi stood up. "It's responding to you again." Derek felt a strange pull in his chest, like something inside him was waking up. He walked toward the table, this time without fear. The floating ring of symbols slowed down as he approached. Then a voice echoed from the air, calm, deep, and not human. "Name, source, identity?" Derek's mouth opened on its own. The words came from him, but he didn't know why. "Derek Solari, human, from Earth." The ring flashed once, then everything went silent. Sci-Fi gasped. "It accepted you." Suddenly, images appeared in the air. Holograms of tall figures in white robes with faces that looked human but not quite. They were standing beside Early, versions of Sci-Fi's people, guiding them, teaching them, even holding their children. "These are the Sky Ones," Sci-Fi said, voice shaking. "But they look like you." Derek nodded slowly. These might be ancient humans." A new image appeared, of a young alien child, born with glowing skin and strange markings, but her eyes were full of fire and knowledge. The Sky Ones surrounded her, speaking the ancient language. Then one of them placed a hand over her heart and whispered a word that echoed in the chamber. "Sci-Fi." The girl beside Derek covered her mouth. That's my name." A soft chime rang through the air. The images faded. The stone table dimmed. Sci-Fi stared at Derek. "How is this possible?" He looked just as confused. "Maybe you're part of their bloodline." Before she could answer, a loud crack echoed from below. The ground shook. Far beneath the chamber, something had awakened. The golden lights turned red. The hum returned, but this time it sounded like a warning. Sci-Fi grabbed Derek's arm. The Guardians, they felt the table open. They are coming. What do we do? Derek asked, standing fast. She pointed to a small arch on the far side of the chamber. There's an escape path. It leads to the mirror vault. We have to go now. As they ran toward the arch, the floor behind them began to break apart. From the cracks, massive hands of stone rose, pulling up giant armored beings with glowing eyes and heavy steps. The Guardians had awakened. Derek and Sci-Fi ran into the tunnel, the sound of stone footsteps chasing them like thunder in the dark, and, behind them, the voice of the ancients whispered once more, "You are not ready, but the stars have chosen." The forbidden door opens. The tunnel was narrow and filled with dust, as if no one had walked through it for thousands of years. Derek and Sci-Fi ran without speaking. Their breathing was loud. The only light came from the faint glow of Sci-Fi's skin and the soft blue energy pulsing along the tunnel walls. Behind them, the sound of stone feet was growing fainter, but not gone. The Guardians were still searching. The tunnel curved downward and opened into a small chamber. Strange mirrors stood on every wall, tall, cracked, and glowing with light that didn't come from any source. When Derek looked into one of them, he didn't see his reflection. Instead, he saw a young boy sitting under a tree on Earth. His own memory. He stepped back, shaken. "These are the vault mirrors," Sci-Fi whispered, her voice weak. "They don't show the present. They show the truth inside you." Derek looked into another mirror. This time, he saw a ruined Earth, burning in red fire. He didn't understand why. But Sci-Fi turned his face away gently. "Don't stare too long," she said. "Some truths can break the mind." He nodded. Suddenly, one of the mirrors at the far wall glowed brighter. Symbols appeared around it, swirling like wind, and then a crack opened in the stone floor beneath it. A staircase of floating stone slabs rose from the hole. "That wasn't here before," Derek said. Sci-Fi looked uneasy. "It's the forbidden path. No one ever goes there. Our stories say it leads to the chamber of the first voice, the one who started everything." Derek stepped forward. "We've come this far. Maybe that voice has answers." She hesitated, then followed him. The slabs felt cold beneath their feet, even though no wind blew. As they stepped lower, the walls began to pulse with light again. This time, red and gold symbols lit up. Symbols even Sci-Fi didn't recognize. They reached a door at the bottom. Massive. Ancient. It had no handle, no lock, no seam. But it had something else. A perfect circle in the center with writing around. It was writing that matched the same ancient language Derek had spoken earlier. He read it aloud. "Speak, and the past shall rise." As the last word left his lips, the circle turned. The door melted away like smoke. Behind it was a hall so wide and tall that it felt like walking into a cathedral built by giants. Pillars reached up into darkness. Between them floated dozens of orbs, glowing, spinning, whispering, and in the center stood a platform. On that platform rested something unexpected. A chair. But not just any chair. It was built of silver, stone, and bone. Its shape was half machine, half organic, like something alive and waiting. "What is this place?" Derek asked. Sci-Fi walked around the platform slowly. "This is the throne of the Lost One, the one who stayed behind when the Sky Ones left." Derek looked at her. "Do you believe that's real? That someone stayed behind?" She nodded. "I think that someone was human. Like you." Derek stepped onto the platform. Something pulled at him again, like the voice from before, deep inside his chest. He sat in the chair. Instantly, the orbs stopped spinning. The air became still, and then, one by one, the orbs began to float toward him, forming a ring of light. "You shouldn't have done that," Sci-Fi said softly. But it was too late. The orbs spoke. Dozens of voices, layered like a chorus, filled the room. You have returned. Long have we waited, long have we dreamed. Derek's mind flooded with visions, cities made of stars, ships bigger than mountains, humans speaking to alien worlds, peace, war, loss, rebirth. He saw Sarathai's people, younger, simpler, holding hands with humans, calling them ancestors, until something changed, a betrayal, a war, silence that swallowed history. Derek screamed and fell from the chair, shaking. Sarathai rushed to his side. What did you see? She asked. Everything, he whispered. We didn't just visit your world, we built it. And then, we disappeared. He looked into her eyes. And I think I know why. Before she could ask, the orbs shot up into the air and formed a beam of light that pierced the ceiling. The chamber rumbled. Far above, the guardians roared. But something else had awakened too. A voice older than memory filled the hall. The seal is broken. The air has returned. Sarathai stepped back, her eyes wide. Derek, what are you? He stood slowly, not quite human anymore, his eyes glowing faintly like the orbs above. And for the first time, the ancient ruins whispered not in fear, but in welcome. The hidden truth of the ancients. The air around Derek felt strange, like time itself was pressing against his skin. His heartbeat echoed louder in his ears, but it wasn't fear. It was something deeper. Recognition. The energy that had awakened in the throne room was still inside him, glowing softly in his blood like distant starlight. Sarathai stood a few steps away, watching him closely. Her face was pale, her breath unsteady. Derek, she whispered. Your voice, it changed. It sounds like them. Derek turned to her. I don't know what's happening to me. She slowly approached and placed her hand on his chest. Your body is the same, but your soul, it has remembered something old, something lost. Before he could reply, the orb of light above them split open like an eye. A glowing thread of energy floated down and touched the floor. It formed a new doorway, round, thin, and humming like it was alive. A voice spoke from the light, calm and deep. Final truth unlocked. Inheritance accepted. Enter, bearer of memory. Sarathai looked at Derek. Should we go in? He didn't answer. Instead, he stepped forward. Inside the new chamber, the walls were smooth and silver. No carvings, no cracks. Just pure light, pulsing like a heart. At the center was a floating crystal, blue, perfectly cut, spinning slowly. It projected images into the air, cities in the sky, oceans of stars, humans walking beside alien tribes. But this time, there were names, faces, and war. Derek and Sarathai watched in silence as the full story unfolded. Thousands of years ago, humanity had reached the stars. They were explorers, teachers, builders. They found worlds like Sarathai's and helped guide them, not as gods, but as older siblings. They shared language, medicine, light. And then something changed. A human leader, driven by pride, decided to claim the galaxy. He built weapons, forged armies, and turned peace into control. The younger races rebelled. War broke out. The great human empire began to fall. To prevent total destruction, a secret group of human scientists created the Echo Protocol. They would store all knowledge, history, and memory inside vaults hidden across the stars. One vault was placed on Sarathai's world, and a child was left behind. A child with mixed blood. Part human, part alien. The last hope. Derek's knees gave out. He fell to the floor, gasping. I saw it, he whispered. The child they left behind was one of you. Sarathai looked confused. What do you mean? You are the bloodline, he said. You carry the memory of both worlds. Her lips trembled. But that means I'm not fully of this world. No, Derek said, slowly standing. You're more. That's why you hear the voices. That's why you feel drawn to this place. And that's why the Guardians didn't kill you. Sarathai stepped back, shaking her head. My people will never believe this. They'll call it blasphemy. The crystal shifted again, showing a final vision, one that made them both freeze. A dark fleet, shaped like fangs, rising from the void of space. Ships without names, without souls. What is that? Sarathai asked. Derek's voice was low. The forgotten. Exiled humans, the ones who never forgave the galaxy. They've been waiting. The crystal spoke now, in a voice that echoed like thunder in water. Threat level, extinction, the forgotten return. Only the bond of origin can stop them. The image faded. Silence returned. Derek and Sarathai stood still for a long time. Then, she said, "We have to warn my people." Derek nodded. "We have to unite them, not just your people. All the other worlds humanity once touched. They need to remember who we were, and who we can still be." "But will they listen?" she asked. Derek placed a hand over his heart. "If we don't try, what everything will burn." As they turned to leave the chamber, the light dimmed behind them. But deep inside the crystal, a soft heartbeat continued to pulse. Watching, waiting, ready for what came next. The Guardians awaken. The silence did not last long. As Derek and Sarathai stepped out of the crystal chamber, a deep rumble passed through the ground beneath their feet. It was not like the soft tremble of machines. It was deeper, heavier. It felt like the world itself was breathing, or waking up. Derek stopped. "Did you feel that?" Sarathai's skin glowed faintly as her eyes widened. "It's them. The Guardians. They know the truth has been touched." Before they could react, the hallway ahead cracked open, and from the shadows stepped a towering figure, a stone warrior, 20 feet tall, covered in glowing lines and armor that looked like it was made from broken moons. Its face was a blank mask, smooth like glass, and its chest held a burning core. One Guardian, then another, and another. Soon the passage behind them closed as well. They were surrounded. Derek moved in front of Sarathai. "Stay behind me." She grabbed his arm. "No, you don't understand. They won't listen to words. They listen to memory." "What does that mean?" he asked. "They were created to protect knowledge, but also to erase danger. If they think the truth will bring war again, they will destroy us." Derek stepped forward, raising both hands. "I'm not your enemy," he said. "I carry the memory of the Sky Ones. I seek peace." The closest Guardian tilted its head. Its core pulsed faster. A voice echoed, not from its mouth but from the air itself. Identity, verified. Memory bearer. Protocol, conflict. "Conflict?" Derek repeated. "You carry memory," the voice replied. "But she carries the seed." Derek turned to Sarathai. "What seed?" Sarathai stepped forward slowly, looking down at her hands. "The child from the story, the one they left behind, their blood. It didn't end. It passed through generations. It lives in me." The Guardian's eyes burned brighter. "Mixed line," the voice said. "Unstable, untested, must be evaluated." Before either could speak, one of the Guardians raised its massive hand. A beam of blue light shot out, wrapping around Sarathai like ropes. She screamed and dropped to her knees. "No!" Derek shouted. He ran forward but was thrown back by an invisible force. He slammed into the wall, breath knocked out of him. The Guardians began to chant, a deep vibration that made the floor crack. Sarathai's body floated into the air, her eyes rolled back. Her glowing skin began to flicker. Gold, then silver, then red. "Memory extraction initiated," the voice said. Derek stood up, blood on his lips. "Stop, she's not a threat." "Judgment is not yours," the voice replied. Derek looked around. Then he remembered something. The crystal chamber. The throne. the voice of the ancients. It had chosen him. He was the memory bearer. The key. He placed both hands on the floor and whispered the words he had heard from the old tongue. Veni lumen. Pax. Anima. The chamber shuddered. Everything stopped. The light beams vanished. The guardians froze. Sarathai dropped to the ground, gasping, and then one guardian turned its head toward Derek. Command override. Accepted. The others turned as well. New. Protocol initiated. Memory bearer and seed blood recognized. Derek rushed to Sarathai and held her gently. Are you okay? He asked. She nodded weakly. I saw everything. My people's birth. The truth. The war. The betrayal. It all lives inside me now. You're strong, Derek said. No, she whispered. We are strong. Together. The guardian stepped aside. A new path opened. A massive gate carved with ancient symbols began to glow. Destination. Star map chamber, the voice said. Final coordinates. Must be chosen. Sarathai stood up slowly. What's in there? Derek looked ahead, his eyes full of quiet fire. A map of every world touched by the Sky Ones, he said. And maybe a way to stop the Forgotten Fleet. But before they moved forward, Sarathai turned to the Guardians. Will you help us? She asked. The lead Guardian placed its massive hand over its chest. We exist to protect the truth, it said. You are now part of that truth. And just like that, the ancient stone warriors who once guarded secrets with silence and death now bowed to a girl once called Cursed and to a man who carried forgotten memory. The war had not started yet, but its path was opening, and they had just taken the first step toward the stars. Echoes of a Lost World. The star map chamber was not built with stone or metal. It was made of light. When Derek and Sarathai stepped through the giant gate, the world around them changed. They were no longer walking on a floor. Instead, they stood on a bridge made of crystal, floating in the middle of space. But it was not the real sky. It was memory. Projection. History. Above and below them spun thousands of stars, planets, and glowing lines that connected them like webs of fire. Each glowing dot pulsed like a heartbeat. Each line whispered stories in the ancient language. Sarathai gasped. This is the whole galaxy. Derek nodded. This is where the Sky Ones kept their paths, trade routes, contact zones, lost colonies. They stepped slowly forward. In the center of the bridge, a large sphere hovered, flickering with unstable energy. As they approached, it opened like a flower, revealing a spinning model of a solar system. Earth. The name shimmered across it, followed by a blinking red symbol. That's my home, Derek said quietly. But why is it marked red? A calm voice echoed from the chamber. Status connection lost, contact attempt failed. Last message received 4,000 cycles ago. 4,000, Derek whispered. How is that possible? Sarathai stared at the sphere. Your people have been silent for longer than my entire history. Maybe Earth fell into war. Maybe they forgot everything. Derek clenched his fists. Or maybe someone made them forget. He looked up at the glowing web of planets. Many were dim, some were completely dark. A few blinked faintly, alive, but weak. He touched one of the blinking lights. A new vision opened. A desert world, covered in dust storms and broken cities, once a great center of learning, now silent in ruins. Another light, an ocean planet covered in coral towers where children of the stars once sang songs that shaped waves. Now nothing remained but dark water and echoes. Everywhere they looked, the same truth appeared, hope lost, memory erased, worlds disconnected from each other and from their origin. How do we stop this? Sarathai asked, her voice soft and shaken. Derek turned to her. We restore the connection. How? She asked. They are far, broken, scattered. We find the signal, he said. The one that binds them. The Echo Protocol used something that can still reach across stars. The chamber responded. Correct, the voice said. Echo beacon, offline. Location, unknown. Status, corrupted. Suddenly, one of the dark planets flickered briefly. It was a small world near the edge of the galaxy. Signal fragment detected, the voice said. Source of the Forgotten Fleet matching origin pattern. Derek and Sci-Fi both froze. They're coming from there, he said. That world holds the key. But then another voice interrupted. A new sound filled the chamber, low, sharp, and twisted. You seek to restore what should remain lost, the voice growled. A shadow appeared in the star map, like a crack spreading across glass. From the crack stepped a figure, tall, armored, face hidden by a mask of burning metal. His presence made the light dim. The stars around him blinked in fear. Who are you? Sci-Fi demanded. We are the Forgotten, the figure said. We are those who were cast aside, erased from memory by the coward kings of Earth. But we remember, and we will return. Derek stepped in front of her. You want revenge? We want justice, the figure said. The galaxy was ours, once. Now we will take it again. The image faded. The map spun wildly. Warning signs flashed across dozens of planets. They've begun. Derek whispered. They're activating the old relay points, preparing for war. Sci-Fi looked at him. Then we have no time. She reached out and touched the star map's core. A light surged through her body. The bloodline of the ancients responded. The map focused. New paths opened. Secret roads. Hidden gates. Forgotten allies. We will awaken the sleepers, she said. Derek smiled faintly. And bring the stars back together. Behind them, the Guardians stepped into the chamber and bowed. And somewhere in the distance, on a cold, dark world, the Forgotten Fleet began to rise. Their ships were made of black steel and old hate. But they had no idea that something far older had just awakened. Hope. And it was no longer silent. The language of unity. The stars were moving. From every edge of the galaxy, silent alarms were waking ancient machines. Old ships, long forgotten in orbit, blinked to life. Relay stations once used for peace now echoed, with war signals. In the dark corners of the galaxy, the Forgotten Fleet began its advance. They were not made of flesh anymore. They were metal, shadows and rage, born from betrayal, fed by silence. And now, they were coming back to finish what had started ages ago. But something had changed, something had awakened that even the Forgotten had not planned for. Hope had, a voice again, and it spoke in a language long thought dead. Derek and Sci-Fi stood at the highest point of the vault, staring at the great beacon tower. The structure was massive, a spire of crystal and living stone. It had not been touched in thousands of years. Even the Guardians kept their distance. This is it, Derek said. The central echo beacon. If we can activate it, we can send the unity signal. Sci-Fi looked at him. And if we fail? He paused. Then every free world will be taken, piece by piece. She nodded once, then stepped forward. As she placed her hand on the stone pedestal, it did not light up. Instead, the ground began to shake. A hole opened in the sky above them, a rift. From it descended a massive black ship, silent, circular, covered in scars. It blocked the stars. They're here, Derek said. A voice echoed across the sky, amplified through machines and pain. You carry lies in your blood, the Forgotten commander roared. You dare summon the old light? We burned it once. We will burn it again. The Guardians raised their arms and prepared for battle. Derek turned to Sci-Fi. The beacon needs both of us, memory and blood. She placed her hand beside his for a moment. Nothing. Then the tower pulsed. Slow at first, like a heartbeat struggling to return. Then faster. Stronger. Images flashed through the sky. Old ships, Old cities, old promises, people from every planet began to look up. Something inside them stirred. Ancient languages whispered in their bones. Across the stars, leaders stood from their thrones. Rebels dropped their weapons. Scientists froze in their labs. Children with strange dreams began to hum a melody they didn't know they knew. The language of unity had returned. The sky itself began to sing. On the battlefield near the vault, the forgotten fleet unleashed fire. Missiles, lasers, beams of dark energy. The Guardians fought back, stone arms throwing shields of light. Their bodies cracked, but they stood strong. Then from behind the mountains ships rose, not human, not alien, but both. A new fleet, called by the Unity Signal, formed by those who still believed. They opened fire. The skies exploded with color and chaos. Derek and Sci-Fi held the connection as the tower reached full power. From the tip of the beacon, a single burst of golden light shot into space. Not a weapon, a message. It spoke in every voice, every tongue, every truth. "We remember," the forgotten commander screamed. His ship cracked from within. The signal broke his control. The soldiers below dropped their weapons, shaking as memories returned. They remembered who they were before the anger, before the exile, and many chose peace. When the battle ended, the ground was scorched and the sky was quiet. Derek collapsed to his knees, exhausted. Sci-Fi held him, tears in her eyes. "We did it," she whispered. "You brought the voice, and I carried the echo." Together they stood before the new council, formed from the survivors of many worlds, a human and an alien girl, once strangers, now symbols of something greater. The first speaker of the council asked, "What do we call this new alliance?" Derek looked to Sci-Fi. She smiled softly and replied, "We call it family." In time, the vault became a place of learning. Children from different stars learned the ancient language. Not because they had to, but because it was the language that saved them all, the language of memory, the language of blood, the language of unity. And somewhere in the stars, the forgotten slept once more, not as enemies, but as those finally remembered.